Uh, the idea of this connection that we have with each other is so important. And we are living in times that are quite challenging at the moment. And it can feel a little bit like everything is going awry. But what if the mess is creating something, birthing something new? So I like to think about how the universe operates sometimes and begin to look for connections, look for ideas that help me to understand the way life is. I mean, the truth is that what I think about, I bring about. So if I'm angry all the time, then that's going to be my reality. If I'm joyful all the time, then probably I'm going to invite some of that joy into my life. And so as I've been studying the science of mind for the last 23 years, it's been a great joy to come to a place of understanding that my thoughts go into the creative medium and then produce a manifestation either in my body, in my emotions, or in the world around me. And that I have complete power over that. I have power over what I think about. And when I'm thinking things that are, how much I hate this or hate that or hate the other thing, what happens is I'm creating a very constricted energy that probably is going to create some discomfort for me in the long run. Now, Ernest Holmes, in the book, The Science of Mind, wrote, the philosophy of applied metaphysics rests upon two or three very simple theoretical propositions. All invisible principles are theoretical, right? We cannot weigh and measure them. I mean, think about life, love, beauty. We can consider those theoretical because nobody's seen them, right? We see only their manifestations, but because of those manifestations, we reason that the reality does exist. So metaphysics rests upon the theory that the universe is a thing of absolute intelligence, and that this intelligence is self-existent. Spirit was not created, it just always has been. So when we begin to look at the original creative energy and intelligent, we realize that nothing came before that. So God, the divine or universal life principle, call it Fred, call it life, call it love, whatever name you want to give it, Allah, Buddha, doesn't really matter. We cannot describe from our finite perspective the infinite potential of the universe. But what we can do is begin to realize it is unchanging, that is the constant, that each one of us changes, grows, expands according to our own consciousness, our own set of beliefs and attitudes, and what it is we bring to the world day by day. So it's really important that we recognize that through our prayer practice, through our meditation practice, we are creating an opportunity for life to be revealed in its wholeness according to our own set of beliefs and attitudes. So what I believe about life, if I think life is really hard, I get to be right. If I think life is easy and beautiful and wonderful, I get to be right. That is how everything sort of works. So we want to take a look at the idea that this universe is all powerful, everywhere present, and all knowing. So when we look at that, we can begin to look at our own personal journey and how we think about life, how we talk about life. What is the way that we chit chat about friends, neighbors, family? Do we have challenges with those people? I mean, sometimes we do, right? Sometimes we look around and go, really? And we kind of question whether or not the person around us is really, great or not. But what we want to do is come to a place of accepting that each one of us is created perfect, whole, and complete. Each one of us is a unique expression of this divine, unchanging, infinite universe. That each one of us has within us a divine spark, and that spark is eternal. It cannot be squashed, lessened, destroyed by any outer event. In fact, the essence of us has never been harmed in any way, shape, or form. Now, our personal journey might have been difficult. The way we perceive things might be very challenging. How we operate in this universe might be difficult for us. But that does not mean that we are somehow less than. So it's important that we come to remember that as we begin to acknowledge our own value and worth, as we begin to celebrate the divinity within ourselves, we begin to see that the world is made up of people just like me. And, we have good days and bad days, right? But one of the things I know for sure is that as we come together with love and appreciation for each other's gifts and talents, you just met, 4 of my children. Well, I only have 4. So you met my 4 children, and they all look a little different. They all live in different parts of the country, and they are all remarkable, unique, divine beings. My son Curtis is the athlete, the fitness trainer, working me out 3 days a week. My daughter Arlene is on a path to ministry, working with these teachings, has been for years, and she brings such light, but she's also an amazing wildlife photographer. My son Rai is a musician. He plays banjo and guitar and, put an instrument in his hand, he'll play it. He sings, but he also does immense craft things, like he carves wood carvings and makes the most beautiful works of art. And he does leather stuff. He just created a beautiful case for my laptop. It's hand stitched, it's stunning. Each one of these children are different. My youngest, Genevieve, she thought she was being left out for a second. She's sitting beside me, so she was like, wait a minute. She's this funny, they're all funny. I'll give you that. They've all got a good sense of humor, but she's a very funny person, very comedic, but also a great singer. And her singing potential has just been getting better and better all the time. And I know with her work with Solify, she really began to anchor some of that real grace in her singing. So I'm really grateful to all the members of the band and how everything has worked out for everyone when it comes to creating the music they created together. So I know that my children are all very, very different. They process information differently. They have different attitudes about life and where they're going, the direction that they want. And every one of them is perfect, whole, and complete. When we sometimes look at our families, we sometimes want to go, if we could just correct this in that person or correct this in the other person. But there's nothing to be corrected. I look at my husband of 20 years, and I am so grateful to have this person in my life who is respectful of what I do, who appreciates what I bring, and then at the same time calls me on my stuff whenever I get a little, human in everything I'm doing, because it happens at times, right? And then my little brother Perry, who you met just a couple minutes ago, he raced home from work so he could do this introduction. And I thought he might do something cheeky. So I just wrote him cheeky notes and then he read those. So that's interesting. But this energy of love and appreciation that can happen in families happens because we decide to connect. We decide to see each other as who we are. My brother works in the oil and gas industry, and he's the one who brings love to work. So you've heard me talk about the love that he brings to the shop where he works. Well, you just met him. And love is that energy that he brings as often as possible. And I'm sure he has his human moments, but for the most part, that idea of love and bringing that into wherever we are is so important. And this is when we start creating really happy, beautiful moments for each other. When we can look across the room and go, yeah, I'm at work, but that doesn't mean I have to be, cold and distant. It can mean I can open my arms, that I can say, hey man, I love you. I can sit back, and anybody who gets emails from me, you know, I say that I love you all the time. I do that after my prayers every morning, every night. It's like, I love you because I do. And I love what Anne shared with us a few weeks ago. You know, after me, I love you most. And that idea, anchoring that idea that when we come to that place of self-love, when we begin to acknowledge that we're created by an intelligent universe and that who we are is sufficient to the life that we are meant to live. And as we begin to honor that life and live in a place of gratitude for it, you know, the ups and the downs, right? Because we've had all of that. As we begin to do that, as we express our own divine nature, okay? Now that does mean letting go of all the stories we've been told, all of the ideas that have, you know, like you're not good enough, or you're too much, or you talk too much, or whatever the stories were that you were told as a little child. Sometimes we need to interrupt that monologue that can run when we are going through our day-to-day business, when we're trying to do something new, when we're starting a new business, or we're creating a new work of art, or we're choosing to step into something brand new in our lives, or even continuing to do something we've been doing for quite a while. If we can bring our true, authentic voice to that experience, what happens is we begin to notice the authenticity and the beauty of the people around us. And So Happy Together becomes our reality, not because we've shown up differently somehow, but simply because we've allowed ourselves to view life from our wholeness rather than from our pain, to begin to see life from our divinity, that consciousness of the one that is within us. So when we think about the universe, a present, you know, interpretation of the universe, according to one learned physicist, is that of an infinite thinker thinking mathematically. So the infinite thinker is a spontaneous thinker. The infinite thinker thinks, and what follows is a sequence of law and order, of cause and effect, which is mathematics, right? The infinite thinker in movement is a principle. And the being of the infinite thinker is pure spirit, and may be thought of as the infinite or abstract essence of concrete personality and the cause of all objective and subjective manifestation. So that infinite thinker, that divine energy inside of us, is a principle that is in movement. And as we allow it to move, as we allow it to have voice, as we pay attention. When I woke up this morning, interestingly enough, at about 5:20 or something, all of a sudden I had this idea, hopped out of bed, quickly got on my laptop and typed it all out, because it was like, really? That's what I'm supposed to do today? And it was about inviting my family to do parts of the service tonight, to come together as a group. And I thought, wow, it's 5:30 in the morning and we got people across the country. What are the odds that I'm going to pull them all together so that we can do this thing? Well, when the universe speaks, you may as well listen, because the way will be made possible. And everybody showed up, everybody was able to participate. And I'm just so deeply, deeply grateful. When we think about life and we think about possibilities, sometimes we immediately jump to, oh, I don't know how to do that. Or, you know, what are the, yeah, it probably won't work, so I'm not going to do it. Or I don't know how to make it work. It's too many moving pieces. I don't know what to do. Or we can sit back and go, oh, I just got an inspiration. The infinite thinker in me has given me an idea. Maybe I should just run with it. When we begin to listen to that still small voice, when we begin to respond to it quickly, easily, joyfully, moment by moment. As we do that, we find that life gets easier, that somehow the things that we're doing and the way that we're doing them is, I don't know, it's filled with a sense of ease and comfort. And whatever's necessary just shows up in the moment that it's required. So here we are. We've got a whole family here tonight, and my extended family, because I consider all of you my family. We are together creating life, creating love, creating peace. And peace on earth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. And it's not a choice that I get to make for some leader out there. It's the choice I have to make right here within me, day by day and moment by moment. So when I'm standing in the, 8 items or less line, and the guy in front of me has 12, instead of counting how many items he has, instead of being frustrated because now I'm being held up by, this person who could have gone in the lineup where there was 25 carts with $200 orders in each cart, I could just bless him or her. I could just go, you know what? It's none of your business. Let it go. Life isn't such a big hurry that I need to be critical of somebody else. It's the same thing when, you go to ring something in the self-checkout and all of a sudden it doesn't ring in and you got to wait because the cashier needs to come over. And maybe that takes a few minutes and maybe we find it frustrating. It's time to take a breath. Just take a breath. Life is unfolding. Life is unfolding. Whether I'm conscious of why things happen or not is irrelevant. What's important is that I come to a place of understanding that people just like me are doing things just like I do. There are times when I inconvenience somebody. There are times when maybe I'm short-tempered. There are times when I could do better or be better. And I think all of us have that within us. And so if we can very consciously begin to use this law of mind in a way that causes us to excel in the things that we love, to expand and grow so that we begin to create a really harmonious, loving life experience, we'll find that we are so happy together, regardless of who it is that we are together with. When we go to work, I look at my brother and, he works in the oil and gas industry. And he tells the guys at work, hey, I love you, man. Sorry, Perry, giving away all your secrets. I've been doing that for years, by the way, in case you didn't know. But there's an energy about that. And I remember when our dad died and Perry was off work for a little while, and one of the young guys at work called him up after a week or two and said, hey, you got to come back. We're missing the love. So, this journey that we're on is impacting lives, and everything we think, say, and do is creating a ripple effect in the universe. And so what I think about matters. What I think about is actually touching life everywhere and creating that ripple. And that ripple can be something that's uplifting and positive, or it can be something that's negative and damaging. Either way, it's my choice as to how I show up. And if I'm in a world that I want to see more harmony, then that starts with me. If I want peace, then I got to make that conscious choice. When I want to get frustrated about something, I need to interrupt myself and go, whoa, wait a minute. Let me just take a breath. Let me take a breath and see what's possible in this moment. What would love do here? And I think that's a great question, because I've found over the years that love really is the healing balm that handles everything. That no matter what's going on in our lives, in our world, if we will come to each experience with a loving, open heart, what happens is answers are revealed, energies are calmed. There's a sense of peacefulness that tends to erupt as a result of that. So we have within us the ability to be great, because that's how we were created. We were created by an intelligent universe. We were created perfect, whole, and complete. We were created unique and special, just like everybody else. And so when we begin to look at ourselves that way, look at life that way, look at the people in front of us that way, and who do we get angry at most often? The people closest to us, spouses, children, parents. The people that have our back sometimes are the ones who see the darkness more often than somebody else. But you know what? We all have it. And if we consider that yin yang symbol, the darkness and the light coming together, create a whole. And so when we look at our lives, if we could begin to see the wholeness of us, to look at the things that we've called bad and wrong and embrace it instead and go, you know what? I love you just the way you are. And know that a lot of what we judge about ourselves is judgment that comes from the stories people have told us about ourselves, who we should be, who we shouldn't be. So we want to pay attention to that and take a moment to go, what if today, right here and now, I decided that I'm sufficient, that I'm enough, and that I could just love me the way I am, knowing that I'm too much most of the time, that I'm irritating often, and that I find that funny. So it's like, can I just love that about me? Can I just love that I say things to my family, which kind of irritates and annoys them on occasion because I think it's funny and they think it's just annoying, but it's okay because we just laugh at each other and go on. It's a journey of awakening to a new way of living in the world, and it's up to each one of us to choose it. You see, life doesn't happen by accident. It happens through consciousness. I'm a conduit of that divine energy. And am I allowing love to flow, or am I restricting and holding it back? Am I opening my heart and showing up as the best me I can be, or am I limiting my personal expression out of fear or doubt? And fear's okay. Most of us have it. It's just we don't want it to be driving the bus, right? We don't want it to be in the front seat controlling the steering wheel. We want to sit it in the back and go, thank you for sharing. Thank you for keeping me safe when I need to be safe. But right now, all is well. So back you go. And begin to look at fear from a new vantage point of, what if we looked at it as feeling excited and ready to take on a new journey, take on a new path, begin something new and wonderful in our lives. What if that was our next step? What if that's what we were going to do? What if that was the new reality? It's a journey without a destination. We're here to simply be human beings. There's a clue in that. I think many of us live our lives as human doings, and that causes us a bit of grief sometimes because we're so busy doing that we forget to breathe, to be, to love, to laugh, to play. I invite you to play more, Go out and jump in a mud puddle. Well, right now it's pretty cold here. We can go skating today. It's so cold. I invite you to find something that brings joy to your life. Allow yourself to look in the mirror and be delighted by what you see. Look at your gifts and talents and acknowledge them. They have value. Every single person is created unique and special. And each and every one of us brings into this life experience something that only we can bring in the way that we do it. No one else. Each of us is unrepeatable. So when you look in the mirror and you recognize, wow, I'm an unrepeatable expression of the divine. Wow. Wow, that's very cool. What am I going to do with that? Can I choose to just go, wow, and then give that gift? Can I find a way of sharing my talents, my inspiration, my love in such a way as to lift others? Can I be in service to humanity by being the very best me I can be? You know, we're looking around our world today, looking for a bit of peace. And I want to remind you that the peace that you're looking for, you already have it deep within at the core of your being. God thinks, and as the result of God's thought, law is set in motion. The thought moves as law in a field of cause and effect. The only thing that is spontaneous is the creative thought itself, the contemplation of spirit. I invite you to contemplate your life, to contemplate your love, to contemplate your joy, and to realize that all of it is precious and beautiful and essential. And on that note, God bless. Namaste.